Welcome to episode 57 of your CYSA Plus Prepcast. In this session, we explore the topic of special considerations in vulnerability scanning. Vulnerability scanning is a cornerstone activity in cybersecurity, helping analysts identify misconfigurations, weaknesses, and outdated software across organizational systems. While vulnerability scanning is often seen as a technical task, executing it effectively requires much more than simply running a tool. Analysts must account for timing, performance impacts, business operations, regulatory compliance, and infrastructure design. This episode will guide you through the most important considerations you need to master in order to conduct vulnerability scans that are not only effective, but also practical and aligned with business and compliance needs. These concepts are crucial for your success on the CYSA Plus exam and in your role as a cybersecurity analyst. Let us begin by defining what vulnerability scanning is and what it seeks to accomplish. Vulnerability scanning is an automated method used to detect security weaknesses in an organization's IT environment. These scans are designed to uncover software flaws, configuration errors, and missing patches that may expose systems to risk. Scanners operate by probing systems and analyzing the responses to identify signs of known vulnerabilities. Because of its speed and scalability, vulnerability scanning is used to maintain visibility across large networks and to enforce consistent security standards across assets. It is also one of the most cost-effective ways to reduce risk before a threat actor can exploit known weaknesses. One of the first and most important considerations is scheduling. The timing of vulnerability scans can have a major impact on operations. Analysts must schedule scans during time windows that reduce the likelihood of interfering with critical business functions. For example, running a comprehensive scan during business hours might slow network performance or interrupt services used by employees or customers. Instead, scans are often scheduled during maintenance periods or low-usage windows to avoid causing disruptions. Proper timing also helps reduce the likelihood of generating false alarms or triggering system instability. Coordinating scan schedules across business units is also essential. Analysts must work closely with IT operations teams, application owners, and department managers to align scans with organizational needs. This collaboration ensures that scans do not interfere with critical operations, such as software deployments, database migrations, or financial transactions. It also provides an opportunity to inform stakeholders about what to expect, reducing confusion if a scan triggers alerts or temporarily affects performance. Good communication leads to smoother scan execution and builds trust between cybersecurity and the rest of the organization. The frequency of scanning must also be carefully determined. Organizations often perform weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly scans based on asset sensitivity, risk tolerance, and regulatory requirements. More frequent scans provide quicker visibility into emerging vulnerabilities but constrain system resources and staff availability. Less frequent scans reduce operational burden but may leave gaps in visibility. Analysts must find the right balance and adjust the scanning cadence as the environment evolves. For example, scanning may need to occur immediately after a major configuration change, a new software deployment, or a high-profile vulnerability disclosure. The choice between agent-based and agentless scanning is another important operational decision. Agent-based scanning uses lightweight software installed on endpoints to perform vulnerability detection from within the system. This approach provides deeper visibility into configurations, registry settings, file systems, and installed software. It also enables continuous monitoring, giving analysts real-time awareness of vulnerabilities as they appear. However, deploying and maintaining agents can introduce overhead, especially in large or decentralized environments. Agentless scanning does not require installing any software on the scanned systems. Instead, it operates externally by probing systems over the network. This makes it easier to deploy and manage, especially in environments where agent installation is not feasible. However, agentless scans may not have the same depth of visibility into system internals and may miss certain configuration flaws or user-level vulnerabilities. Analysts must assess their environment and determine which approach, or combination of both, offers the best balance of coverage, accuracy, and operational efficiency. Credentialed versus non-credentialed scans is another key distinction. Credentialed scans use valid login credentials to access and analyze systems from the inside. This provides much more detailed insight into installed software versions, patch levels, and local configuration settings. Non-credentialed scans, in contrast, simulate an attacker's perspective by probing systems without credentials. These scans reveal what an outsider could discover but may miss deeper issues that require internal access to detect. Both scan types have value, and many organizations implement both to gain a full spectrum view of vulnerabilities. Analysts must also manage scan credentials carefully to ensure security. Storing credentials in scanning tools introduces the risk of misuse if those credentials are not properly protected. Analysts enforce strict access controls, encrypt stored credentials, and rotate passwords regularly. It is important to limit credentials to read-only or scanning specific permissions whenever possible, minimizing the damage that could occur if credentials are exposed. Analysts also document who has access to the credentials and under what circumstances they are used, ensuring accountability and reducing the attack surface. Another important operational consideration is the impact that scans may have on system performance. Scanning can place a heavy load on network infrastructure and endpoint resources, especially when using aggressive scan settings or targeting sensitive systems. Analysts must test scan configurations in staging environments, use throttling to limit bandwidth consumption, and avoid scanning during periods of peak usage. Systems that are already resource-constrained may become unstable or slow under scan pressure, so careful tuning and monitoring are essential to avoid unintentional disruptions. To ensure smooth operations and consistent execution, analysts create detailed documentation around their scanning practices. This documentation includes scanning schedules, asset coverage lists, notification procedures, escalation paths, and roles and responsibilities. Analysts also record the rationale behind scan frequency, tool selection, and scan configuration. This level of transparency supports internal coordination, external audits, and long-term continuity, particularly when teams change or expand. Well-documented procedures allow vulnerability management to scale without compromising quality or operational harmony. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Beyond operational planning, vulnerability scanning must also account for a range of regulatory, sensitivity, and network architecture considerations. Analysts must ensure that their scanning activities align with legal and industry requirements, especially in sectors like healthcare, finance, and retail. Regulatory standards such as the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and the General Data Protection Regulation often include specific guidelines for how frequently scans must be conducted, what documentation must be maintained, and what tools or methodologies are acceptable. Analysts are responsible for interpreting these requirements and integrating them into the vulnerability scanning process to maintain compliance. In many cases, regulatory frameworks mandate the use of approved scanning tools or certified third-party vendors. For example, PCI DSS requires external scans to be conducted by an approved scanning vendor. These tools may also need to follow particular formats for generating reports and documenting remediation timelines. Analysts select vulnerability scanning solutions that meet these compliance benchmarks and ensure that scan reports are retained for auditing purposes. Failing to meet these requirements can result in fines, reputational damage, or legal consequences, so compliance is not an optional consideration, it is a critical component of cybersecurity strategy. Sensitivity levels also influence how vulnerability scanning is performed. Analysts must be especially cautious when scanning systems that contain confidential data, intellectual property, or personally identifiable information. These systems often include production databases, customer-facing applications, financial transaction platforms, and healthcare systems. When scanning these assets, analysts apply additional controls to minimize risk. This might include restricting scan intensity, disabling potentially disruptive options, and scheduling scans only during approved maintenance windows. Analysts also monitor the scans in real time to detect any issues and halt the process if system stability is threatened. Targeted scans are often preferred for sensitive systems. These scans focus only on specific assets or vulnerabilities, reducing the likelihood of unnecessary disruption. For instance, an analyst may configure a scan to check for a critical remote code execution vulnerability on production servers without probing unrelated services. This focused approach maintains visibility into high-priority issues while preserving the performance and availability of critical systems. Analysts also apply compensating controls such as network segmentation and logging to supplement visibility in cases where comprehensive scanning is not feasible. Network segmentation introduces additional considerations into vulnerability scanning. Many organizations divide their network into distinct segments to limit the spread of threats and improve resource management. These segments may include virtual local area networks, isolated development zones, demilitarized zones for public-facing assets, and cloud-based infrastructure. Analysts must ensure that scanning tools are properly positioned to access all relevant segments. This may involve placing scanners in each segment, configuring routing rules, or deploying credentials that allow cross-segment access. Without proper planning, scanners may be blocked by firewalls or access control lists, leading to incomplete scan coverage. Scanning across segmented environments requires clear documentation and coordination. Analysts maintain detailed records of scanner placement, access permissions, firewall configurations, and authentication methods. This documentation ensures that scans are repeatable, auditable, and aligned with security policy. It also helps analysts troubleshoot when a scan returns incomplete data or fails to detect vulnerabilities on specific systems. With well-defined procedures, vulnerability scanning can scale across even the most complex network environments without sacrificing accuracy or coverage. Analysts must also plan for scan exceptions. Certain systems may be excluded from scanning temporarily or permanently due to operational constraints. These might include legacy systems that are critical to business functions but are not compatible with modern scanning tools. They could also include systems undergoing updates or systems that have proven to be highly sensitive to scanning activity. When exclusions are granted, analysts document the justification, associated risks, compensating controls, and approval from appropriate stakeholders. This prevents gaps in oversight and ensures that exceptions do not become permanent blind spots in the security program. Specialized environments, such as industrial control systems and operational technology networks, require even more nuanced scanning approaches. These environments often support manufacturing, energy production, transportation, or critical infrastructure services. They are highly sensitive to disruptions, and traditional scanning techniques may cause system crashes, safety issues, or operational downtime. Analysts adopt passive monitoring, manual inspections, or dedicated industrial vulnerability scanning tools that are tailored for these environments. Understanding the unique constraints of operational technology is a crucial skill for analysts working in industries that depend on uninterrupted system performance. Cloud environments add another layer of complexity to vulnerability scanning. Resources in the cloud are dynamic, often scaling up and down based on demand. Analysts must work within the cloud provider's shared responsibility model, which outlines which components the provider secures and which are the responsibility of the customer. Scanning tools must have the necessary permissions to assess virtual machines, containers, databases, and other cloud network services. Analysts may also need to use cloud-specific scanning platforms or APIs to access ephemeral resources that traditional tools may miss. Maintaining visibility in cloud environments requires a combination of traditional scanning practices and cloud-native approaches. As vulnerability scanning environments grow more complex, continuous improvement becomes essential. Analysts regularly review their scanning practices to account for changes in infrastructure, updates to regulatory requirements, and feedback from operations teams. They assess whether scans are being conducted frequently enough, whether coverage is complete, and whether scan results are leading to timely and effective remediation. Lessons learned from past incidents, audit findings, or missed vulnerabilities are used to refine procedures. Continuous review ensures that the scanning process remains aligned with organizational needs, scalable across environments, and capable of detecting the most critical risks. To summarize episode 57, mastering special considerations in vulnerability scanning is about more than just technical skill. It requires operational awareness, regulatory knowledge, and the ability to balance risk management with business continuity. Analysts who understand how to plan, configure, and execute scans in alignment with these factors are better equipped to protect their organizations and to pass the CYSA Plus exam. Effective scanning practices ensure that vulnerabilities are not only detected, but addressed in a way that supports organizational resilience, compliance, and operational integrity. Stay tuned as we continue your comprehensive journey toward CYSA Plus certification success. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.